How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Now, are you brothers to Braden?
Yeah. Yep.
You guys look the same. I was
Yeah.
like, wait a second, is he pulling a fast one on me?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Mhm.
Good. Well, thank you for meeting with me.
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate it. Was it a good phone call that you were on?
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Good.
great. I just recently bought a new business, and so working on just connecting. It's kind of unique. It's not quite a marketing agency, but just a group that can target the type of demographic we're trying to target by getting a little bit more creative than just your standard tactics. So
Okay.
yeah, really, really good.
That's cool. And where are you based out of? What city?
So I'm actually in Mapleton, Utah.
Oh, so are you living in Mapleton right now?
Yep.
Good. Avoiding that heat.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let me tell you about myself. So I keep saying Brother Hackey. I'm Spencer Hackey. I teach at BYU, Idaho,
okay.
public speaking and study and life skills. I also run the Presentation Practice Center on campus.
Cool.
And I'm doing my sabbatical right now, which means they give me the semester off that I can just start researching. And I one of the main goals of BYU Idaho right now is retention and employability. And I asked some people in the leaderships, like, what is it that we are lacking? And they said, we don't know. Like, and so I said, all right, I'll go find out. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to find the it factor of employability, sustainability, promotion, and those type of things. So then we can get the right students. And I
Cool.
call it the it factor. Do you know what I mean by the it factor?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, we all know those students that are like, yeah, they've got it. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know what it is, but we'll figure it out.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
um, well, if you don't mind, I have 10 questions. I'm kind of taking the Napoleon Hill approach of where have you ever read any of his books?
I have, but it's been a long time.
Yeah. Well, he wrote a book called Keys to Success. And what he did is he went and interviewed all of these successful people, real popular people like Henry Ford, President Roosevelt, and just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he came up with 7 keys to success. And so I'm taking that same approach. I've got 10 questions. I'm going to just ask you those things, and then I'm going to analyze the answers and see if I can come up with this is what we need to do at BYU Idaho. And
Awesome.
so that's what I'm doing.
Okay. Great. Great.
Okay. Well, the first one is well, I'm going to talk about finding stage, interview stage, trial stage, and promotional stage. And so I'll just ask you questions that kind of go along those lines.
Okay.
So, when you think about the best people in your company you've hired, or how, well, actually, let me step off a little bit. Because I would like you to think about the best employees, best coworkers, and even like best mentors and something like that. And
Okay.
just keep them in mind when you answer these questions, because I'm trying to find the it. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
When you think about the best people your company has hired or you've hired, how were they first discovered or noticed?
Say they were first noticed by work ethic
Okay.
of, yeah, willing to make sacrifices that the vast majority would not.
And did you notice those from working with them in other companies, or uh, you associated with them? It's like, yeah, they're hard workers. I want them on my team. Is that
Um, that's a good question. And most of my recruiting up to this point has been in door-to-door sales, is
Okay.
recruiting summer sales guys. And, for me is identifying, okay, which one of these guys are going to be the top 20%? Which of these guys are going to be ones that I want to go and build with long-term, that I want to be a part of my organization? And so it's hard to say coming in the door what it is. Obviously, there's a lot of just talk initially, and then what it boils down is to the action. So in the door-to-door space, what I would identify, and it wasn't always tied to results, especially up front. A lot of times guys are slow to get door-to-door sales figured out, but who are the guys that are early to morning meeting? Who are the guys that are skipping lunch if need be? Who are the guys who are the last ones to get off the doors when, we end at 8 p.m.? The guys that are knocking till 8:30, 8:45. And those are more the ones that are targeted. Okay, even if his results aren't showing it right now, this is a guy that is going to figure it out, and that I want to be a part of my leadership in my organization.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. Just kind of the above and beyond people, right?
Yep.
So when you're sorting, do you take applications for what you're doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So when you're sorting through them, what makes one person rise to the top even before the interview stage?
Yeah. A lot of the application side we do through Indeed, and it's not the majority of what we're doing. The majority of what I'm doing is headhunting, is finding people that seem to fit a category, and then getting on a call with them and then determining, is that actually part of it. I'd say a big thing in looking at an application is, what is the moral of their application? A lot of applications, you can tell extreme victimhood of, I've been fired because of this, I've been mistreated because of this, and not to invalidate any of those, but oftentimes there's a commonality between playing victim and victor. And
Oh, I
those that are
love that.
taking accountability of their life, regardless of what the outcome has been, good, bad, hard, easy, they're accountable to it. And things happen because of them, not because others, are doing it to them.
Oh, I love that. I can't I can't tell you how much I love that because really, the victim versus the victor, like there's a fine line between that, and it really just stems back to like what do you consistently make choices on, and if or even like the way you view the world, because you could take the same situation and you get totally different results just based on how they think,
Yep.
victim or victor. I love that.
Yep.
Um, well, I'm curious about your interview stage. Are there any qualities or skills that make someone stand out during the initial hiring process beyond just their resume or formal qualifications?
Yeah. In my interview process, something I mentioned to people, we're kind of in a unique industry in door to door where we'll take, it's not like, hey, we're only hiring 3 people. So taking
Mhm.
the absolute best, it's like, hey, we have as much space as needed. And it's kind of like, we'll take anybody that I have faith could succeed. And some will end up shocking me and doing way better than I anticipated. Some will not, unfortunately. But what I go through with them is, one is work ethic. In door to door sales, you will determine your success. If you work hard, you will succeed. Number 2 is just being optimistic and maybe more of the same victor or victim mindset. In door to door sales, you have a lot of days where you will make 0 sales.
Mhm.
And some people come home from that day and you can tell that they failed that day. And they come to the meeting the next morning and you can tell that they still are in their head. They still failed. And so a lot of times I'll relate it to, baseball. Hey, if you strike out at your first at bat and you come up the next one thinking, wow, I struck out, I suck, I'm not good at baseball, you're going to strike out again. And sales is the exact same. And so being able to be optimistic, being able to flush the past the day before doesn't matter. Today you restart. So how do we show up with energy, ready to succeed? And then the third big piece is coachability. We have tons of guys on this team who have succeeded. So if you're willing to be coachable, you'll be able to succeed. So if you can be optimistic, if you can work hard and you can be coachable, you will succeed in this industry. If you cannot do any of those things, more than likely it'll either be very average or you'll have a poor experience.
I'm curious then, are there any warning signs or gaps when you're looking at these potential employees? What signs or gaps make you hesitant to keep them on board, even if they appear qualified on paper?
Yeah. One is, I think their willingness to take risk. Are they willing to bet on themselves? And ultimately, I think that comes back to the victim and the accountability side of, at the end of the day, if you made 0 sales, are you looking at yourself of, hey, I've got to figure this out, and that might mean I need to train harder, I need to work harder? Or is it, well, I failed today because the area was bad. I failed today because, well, you didn't train me on how to do this. And so the similar mindset just on other things, asking them questions about high school. Did they play sports? What role did they fill in sports? What was their experience in sports, or their relationship with sports or music or whatever it is, similar dynamics? Did they have a job in high school? Were they held accountable? One piece that I found that surprisingly doesn't, people that seem to fit the right narrative or the right mold to do well at door-to-door sales, if they come from wealthy families where their parents gave them everything, they won't succeed in door-to-door because nobody will give you anything. So when it gets hard, even if they have the right look, they have they did good in school, they're smart, they're social, but something gets hard and their whole life they've just been handed it when things get hard, is one piece.
Oh, sheesh, I love that. I love when you talk about taking risk and betting on themselves. Because I teach study and life skills, and I lean heavily on the not life skills part of it. And that victim mentality, because you mentioned one side of it, of where they kind of just blame their situation or blame somebody else. Do you also find that there's an element of where they just don't have confidence on themselves? Because you mentioned betting on themselves, of where they're like, I'm just not a good salesman, I just can't do this. Do you find there's that side of the victimhood as well?
Yeah, 100%. And so that's something that, as we get people into training, a couple of things, that we're pushing hard is, one is self-belief, is helping them understand, hey, I am capable of this, even though it is going to be extremely hard and I'm going to face tons of rejection. I am capable. Another piece is in the product is, you could be super confident in yourself, but you don't believe in what you're selling. And so now, it comes across with the same lack of ability. And so self-belief in that, in them, belief in the product that they're selling, and then just, belief in the process of, just like everything, sports, music, you're going to start out and you're going to be bad and you're going to fail and you're going to face rejection in whatever it is. If it's basketball, well, you can't start by going between the legs and shooting 3-pointers, or you'll think you're a failure at basketball. But you start with the fundamentals, you figure it out, you practice every day, get a little bit better. All of a sudden you're skilled. So belief in themselves, belief in the product, and belief in the process.
I love that. So when it comes to like the trial stage, like all right, you're on the team, let's see how you do for the next few months. After somebody's hired, are there any qualities or behaviors that help them become a strong long-term fit for your company?
Mhm. Yeah, and I'd say ultimately it ties back to those three things that I tell them in the interview process of work ethic, coachability, and optimism. Um,
Right.
because even that, I've had sales reps or guys that for the first 2 months, they just can't perform very well. And then after 2 months, it just clicks and they end up being one of the top performers on the team. I've also had guys who a week in, they're crushing it and, they still perform at a really high level. And so there's a learning curve that's different for everybody. But if they'll work hard, if they'll be coachable, and if they'll be optimistic, they will succeed in door to door. Hands down, no questions asked. Anybody with those three things I've never seen fail in door to door.
It's funny because yeah, we could call it door to door. We could call it school. We could call it becoming a doctor.
Yeah.
So work ethic, coachability, optimism. I love that. That might have to be a theme with what I'm working on. Um, are there any skills or characteristics that separate employees who simply just perform their job from those that become strong candidates for promotion?
Sorry, ask that one more time.
Um, are there any skills, characteristics, or uh, behaviors that separate those employees that are just simply performing their jobs versus those that are great? They're like, yeah, that's a guy I want to keep.
Yeah. I'd say the differentiator between the top 20% and everybody else is what are they willing to sacrifice? And maybe what it ultimately is commitment. Is, if I'm fully committed to this is the path I'm on and there's no secondary options. There's not well, if this doesn't work out, then I'll go back to this. They come out with full commitment. Those are the guys who they're skipping lunch. They're staying out late because there's no other option but success here. So they're
Uh-huh.
willing to make sacrifices that others are not willing to sacrifice purely based on they're committed to a higher goal or a
That's
higher
the top.
standard.
And you say on your calculations, it's the top 20%. They're the ones that figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. And those top 20% generally are responsible for 80% of production.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to hear this. Well, yeah, because we see it and talk about it in school, but it's good to see it like out there, like where the rubber hits the road. Because I never want to be known for you just don't understand how it works in the real world. And it's like, yeah, I do. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing from it. I mean, you look at Preston just said this, like, so
Yeah.
um all right, when you're looking at promoting somebody, maybe making them a partner or something like that, are there any qualities, behaviors, or skill gaps that prevent people from being promoted even when they're technically good at their best job?
The biggest two that I look for, well, number one, if I'm looking for, a promotion or partner, number one is commitment of
Okay.
what are they willing to do. And I look at that for me, it's like I've made massive sacrifices personally with my family. And we just ran this the other day. We've been married for 5 years. And that 5 year timeline, we've moved 15 times in
Wow.
order to get to where we are and do what we've been able to do. And so if I'm looking for someone to promote, someone to be a partner with me, it's how committed are they? What sacrifices are they willing to make? And not, obviously nothing um, immoral or not pro family or things like that, but
Right.
are they willing to be uncomfortable to put themselves through certain things that aren't fun, that aren't luxury to go and achieve that. So number one, I'd say is, okay, how committed are they really? If another opportunity comes along, are they gone or are they here to stay? And then and that'd be more of the green flag, or the cool, they're committed. I want them because I know they'll figure out how to be successful with me. And I'd say more of the downside, or the red flag, is could call it victimhood. Obviously, elevated. It's really easy to identify victimhood in the bigger settings, but in bringing on a partner is to the more elevated level. Are there things that maybe it wasn't their fault, but they were the leader?
Yeah.
So, you don't come and tell me, well, this guy didn't do. It's like, end of the day, you're the leader, so I need you to figure that out. And so I'd say victimhood is more the red flag, but to an obviously much higher elevated standard that maybe wouldn't necessarily be qualified as victimhood, but
Well, like the opposite, like taking responsibility.
yeah,
Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, I'd say, yeah, more
Okay.
of that of, yep, committed, and are they willing to be fully accountable to
Accountable. That's the word.
what their stewardship is, or what they're over.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because accountable seems like a perfect fit.
Yeah.
Let me go back to that first part where you talked about committed and sacrifice. It's not that they're willing to sacrifice everybody or everything, right? It's like, all right, I'm gonna just sacrifice my family so we can get this running, and then I'll pick up on my family. It's kind of having the priorities, right? It's just like, what are you willing to sacrifice? You're not going to bail on me when we're going along.
Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. Um, when you think about the people who are most successful in what you are doing in your industry or organization, are there any qualities, characteristics, or skills that they consistently demonstrate?
Hmm. Similar to work ethic, I don't know if there's a specific skill tied to it. Something unique that I've found is that the most successful in this field are, well, one is a larger demographic is they played sports, and even more so than that is if they wrestled.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I think the sporting aspect, I mean, both sides come into an aspect of rejection and success. And so experiencing that. Another aspect in sports is, you don't play unless you can perform at a certain level. And so you've had to bet on yourself and had to put work in to achieve certain results. And I think what it's come down to in wrestlers is, a wrestler, you have no one to fall back on. If you lose, you are fully accountable. If you're on a sports, more of a team sport, it's like, well, you lost in your football game. Well, there's 10 other people on the field to blame. There's, other aspects you can put it on. In wrestling, if you lost, you weren't as good, you personally. And so I think there's a development that comes in from wrestling of, you take full accountability when you lose. And if you lose and you want to be better, you better go put the work in.
I love that. I have to use that the wrestling analogy because I've seen it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got one more question for you. This is the reflection question. If you were to visit your 17-year-old self who wants to be hired, succeed, eventually be promoted, find your dream job, what would you tell yourself to develop first and why?
I tell myself to develop discipline, because discipline is, I'd say, the root of all learning and growth. And so, how do you become disciplined and mentally tough? And as far as action items, I'd tell myself to go do challenging things, sign up for a marathon, do ice baths every day, do, whatever it is that's uncomfortable, put yourself in uncomfortable positions. Um, and yeah, be disciplined. Because if you can consistently do or be disciplined, even when it's mentally challenging, you'll succeed. Anybody wants an employee that will find a way to succeed no matter what the challenge is.
This is awesome. This is good stuff, Preston. This is what I'm looking for. And just on a purely observational note, because I didn't prompt you for any of these other than asking questions. There's a theme happening with this that is very soft skill oriented, and that victimhood is kind of like the thing that's holding people back and not taking responsibility and having that discipline and stuff. So just so you know, you're headed in the right direction, and so I think your business is going to be successful. So keep up the good work. You're headed there for sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Do you have any questions for me? That I mean, I just want to help you out now that you're able to help me out.
Nothing that comes to mind. I'd be curious to see what the findings are once you've pieced everything together. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Braden's on the list. I'll put you on the list too when I kind of put together the stuff. So that's
Great.
awesome. You guys want that. Would you mind if I reached out to you like after I finish off this trip and see if there's anybody else that you can think of that I should be talking to?
Yeah. 100%. There's a couple that come to mind right now that I don't know your process if you're actively looking for more people, but a few that come to mind that I reach out to and see if they're open and willing. Yeah,
I mean, because if you did what Braden did and just said, hey, copy me on something, that's actually works really well, because then it automatically has a paper trail. But even if you're like, hey, there's so and so and so and so, here's their contact information, just let them know that I sent you sent you their way. I'm happy with that too. But I can also text you and remind you about it too. I'm trying to get to 100 interviews. I'm probably at 30 right now, and so I'm just steady upward course. And I'm going to be doing this all summer long. And so if there's anybody that you think, yeah, this would be, based on the questions I asked, this would be a good person to talk to, that'd be great.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I'll reach out to a few and I'll keep you looped in.
Okay. Well, good luck with your business and that startup and everything. And it sounds to me like you've got it. So
thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, great connecting with you.
Yep, good to connect with you. Thanks, Preston. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, see ya. Bye.